Now I tell you about what you see here, all these parameters. You can change those parameters to have a different look of the navigation mesh. Cube size basically is the resolution of the algorithm that analyzes the navigation mesh. For example, if we look here again, looking at that door here, right? If we choose cube size too big, then the algorithm would not be able to get into the door. Not the only valid cube size here. But cube size defines the granularity of the algorithm. If you increase cube size, your navigation mesh will not be able to go through doors, for example. If you decrease cube size, you can resolve even finer structures in your geometry. Unit radius, I've told you before, unit radius means how big your unit is from the left side to the right side. Step height means what height difference can the unit overcome. If step size is 0.5, this means that the unit can go 0.5, let's say, meters up and 0.5 meters down. So if you look here, if step size would be way higher, step height, then the unit might be able to jump up here. But since we have limited step height to 0.5, the unit cannot jump up here or go from here to down there. This is why there is no navigation mesh up there. And sector size, the navigation mesh is calculated using a sectorized approach. That is, we do not calculate the whole navigation mesh at once, but structured in sectors, which decreases memory usage and CPU usage, and which gives you the possibility to load and unload parts of the navigation mesh in your game. So you do not always need to have the whole navigation mesh in the memory, but you can load and unload parts of the navigation mesh in your game, which spares you memory. Using spawn points is what I've just said. If you set it to true, it uses the spawn point, as I've done before, so it takes into consideration that here's a spawn point. If you set this to false, it will ignore the spawn point when calculating. I've done this. Use polygon edge reduction has something to do with the calculation, with the algorithm. So it's just a performance thing. If you set it to true, the navigation mesh is of higher quality but takes a little bit longer to calculate. If you set it to false, it will be a little bit faster when calculating, but it will be of less quality. There is something which we call the walkable definition. You see here that we've got gravity direction X, Y, and Z. This defines your gravity direction. In this case, gravity direction is from up to down, so showing onto the street level in this case. And you can define a maximum slope that your units should be able to climb. In this case, it's 45 degrees. If you increase that maximum slope, your units will be able to go steeper areas. Then there's another parameter, maximum edge length. This has to do with the length of the edges of the triangles here of the navigation mesh. If you change it, let's say we change it to 5 and recalculate the navigation mesh, you'll see that the structure of the navigation mesh will change. Now you see that the triangles here are smaller. This is because we have reduced the maximum size of the triangle. This makes sense for some applications. Typically you would like to increase the maximum edge length in order to reduce the number of polygons that you've got. But maybe you got geometry which is very detailed, like in those hills, and then the navigation mesh might be too coarse to cover the hills correctly, so then you need to reduce maximum edge length to get a finer approximation to the geometry. If I go back to what it was before, 10, now have a look at those triangles here, how they change after the calculation. You see they are bigger now again. So if you look here, it looks like there's a hole in the navigation mesh. And if I go outside, this hole vanishes. This is because in their graphical representation, the navigation mesh lies underneath the geometry. If I switch off the geometry, you see that the navigation mesh is everywhere. So this is just a graphical artifact of the creator, because the graphics is not capable of distinguishing between the navigation mesh and the geometry. This is just a graphical artifact, and you see that the navigation mesh is well there. So there are no holes in the navigation mesh. It just looks like in those hill areas where the navigation mesh might be a little bit on top of the geometry and sometimes a little bit underneath the geometry. It's here for calculating navigation meshes from any given geometry.